In this video, we're going to go from this to this. Saikei is a miniature landscape, and it goes along with bonsai because they are miniature forms of a tree. We start with the rough placement of the items in the landscape, typically stones, trees, anything that would go in the landscape you're trying to create. I will speed up the video so that we can get through this quickly. So first, obviously, the mesh, then the stone. I drilled a couple holes here to feed the tree through it so that it can reach the soil that's going underneath. I used this boxwood that used to be a root over rock boxwood, so it had this exposed roots, and I didn't like it after I removed the rock, so I'm going to reuse this as a distant looking tree. So as you know, a landscape would be similar to a forest where you're trying to replicate a perspective, right? So you have smaller trees in the back, towards the back of the pot, and then the larger trees towards the front. In this case here, I'm trying to create a picture where the tree is growing on the top of a hill or the top of a mountain, but off in the distance where it is on top of the stone towards the back of the pot. Here's a close-up. Next up is our second tree. It's also a boxwood, Kingsville Boxwood, and we're doing the same thing we do when we repot a tree. We are loosening the soil, we're trimming back the roots, we're trimming back larger roots, and because we're going from a deeper pot to a more shallow tray, we're going to have to remove a lot of the vertical growth of the tree. Another word on perspective here. So if you're out in nature at a forest and you're looking straight onto the forest, you see that the trees closer to you may appear larger than the trees further away from you. Obviously, you know they're probably close to the same size, but that is difficult to replicate in a tray using the same size trees. And so what you do is you use thicker trunk trees towards the front so that when you're looking at the tray, it appears larger than the trees further back in the tray, which are smaller trunks. The third boxwood is slightly taller, and it's going to go on the right side of the tray. You don't want the trees to line up on the same axis from side to side, right? So the one on the left will be planted slightly further back than the one on the right. In similar fashion, you don't want a tree in a landscape or a forest planted in front of another tree to obscure its view. This close-up is to show you that when you're planting, you want to make sure the base of the tree, you want it to line up with the top part of the pot. You don't want to plant it too high or too low so that you show that root distribution correctly that corresponds to the height of the pot. Next up are a couple more trees. So these are cuttings from an original Kingsville boxwood that's larger. This is a 1-year cutting and a 2-year cutting. I originally thought this would be a 7 or 9 tree landscape, but I decided to go with 5 trees. Historically, people will do odd number of trees rather than even. Here there's an arc underneath the stone, so I'm just adding soil so that there's no gap underneath there, and I'm starting to add the soil to the tray. Again, the smaller trees are towards the back, so we can create a perspective that they are off into the distance somewhere. As with the regular bonsai and any landscape or any planting like this, you want to make sure you have soil distributed everywhere. I am potentially going to add more trees to this in the future, but for now it will be just the 5 trees. when you're adding soil, it's good to press down and use your fingers or a chopstick to make sure the soil is filling every gap there is in the stone or on the side of the trees. There shouldn't be any gaps anywhere. The right side of this stone has a little gap that in the future I may try to explore a little more, try to make it look like a cave and add something, some figurine or some miniature animal to replicate a cave. So there's a close-up of the 3 trees in the back. All that's left now is to water. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions about any of these items or any of the steps in this video, post a comment and I'll get back to you. Thank you.